And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Hello and welcome. It's time for another exciting episode of IT Career in Australia channel. And tonight's topic is navigating team building and hiring as an engineering manager. So thank you so much for finding some time to join me this evening. Please, as usual, don't forget to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversations with your comments and questions. Or if you don't have any questions, at least say hi in the comments so we know that you're here. Quick reminder, I'm Jana Martins, if you forgot, and I'm currently working in IT consultancy, so I'm passionate about learning more about present and future of tech industry and always eager to share my latest findings with you on this YouTube channel. So again, tonight's topic is navigating team building and hiring as an engineering manager. And Luiz and I are going to talk about this topic. And Luiz is going to share his professional insights, his experience, professional and personal as an engineering manager and a hiring manager. So before I'll pass it over to Luiz to introduce himself, just want to quickly remind you that we're streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and the YouTube. You can always catch the replays on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to IT Career in Australia. I go live there every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. with various experts from my network, and we're covering a broad range of topics around the job search, career transitions, and in and outs of the tech industry in Australia. I also have a meetup group that you can join so you can register for all upcoming events. And I have a live events as well in Melbourne. So if you're in Melbourne, you can participate in our tech working events as well. So please ask as many questions as you like during the stream, but remember, stay on the topic, and also remember that the most active participants will receive a special surprise at the end of the stream. Again, please make sure to say hi in the comments. If you're not saying hi, we don't know that you're here, and it's kind of sad. So Ramin is saying hi. Thank you for joining, and thank you for saying hi. And probably enough of me. I'm just gonna pass to Luiz to introduce himself, please.
Hi Jana, hi everyone. Glad to be here. My name is Luiz. I'm working on as a staff engineer at the moment. I'm not an engineering manager, but I've been an engineering manager in a previous role, and happy to share all my experience with hiring and managing people so far.
Perfect. Devashish is here saying hi. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Sudeep is here. Thank you, guys, for saying hi. So as I said, always appreciate and you saying a quick hi because, we know that you're here and you're listening. So make us obviously keep going and, keep sharing those knowledge with you. So let's dive in straight to the topic. So obviously today we're talking about that hiring experience from the hiring manager point, not from the candidate's point. But I also think that a lot of job seekers out there who's watching us can probably gain a lot of knowledge when they, they see the story and they see other side of the recruitment process as well. So I guess, maybe just before we dive into the topic itself, can you please share why you actually, passionate about this topic and, why you feel like you wanted to share your insights today?
Yeah, sure. I've been passionate about this because I always wanted to find good people to work with. So the best way to find good people to work with is get involved on the hiring process. So it was always good to get involved on identifying who is willing to join the company. Is the hiring process that we have good enough? When they say good enough, like not necessarily it is the best one, but how can we make this as fair enough for the candidate and we find the right person for the company as well. So yeah, like at the same time, even if a candidate is not successful, at least I got a good feeling that I could give something back to the candidate during that short period of time, the interaction that I had with them. Yeah, like one thing that I always say to people is, and one of the reasons why I transition on the people manager role is I like to help people. So liking to help people, like even that person did not work with you, I can somehow help. So even if it is not a candidate, the right candidate for the role that I'm hiring, maybe I help that person to find the next role. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they
that's the
find
main
that
reason.
best fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we all know that how important the feedback for people as well. I think it's a really common I wouldn't say the problem, but it's one of the challenges as well during hiring process to give enough feedback for all the candidates. And unfortunately, a lot of time people, hiring managers are busy, talent acquisition team busy, where there's so many candidates going through, and finding this time and give that feedback that people can actually improve next time than going to interview. It's definitely making impact on people's life. Just the simple making sure to provide them the feedback. And as you said, even if they're not good fit for your role, it doesn't mean that they not good fit for other roles. It's so many variables when it comes to hiring process and fitting the team.
Exactly.
There's a few more people saying hi. Anton's here, of course. Anton, the one who recommend Luis to come to the stream. So, of course, Anton has to watch now. Thank you, Anton, for joining. Rishma's here saying hi. Thank you. Thank you for saying hi in the comments. I guess, firstly, let's talk about a bit of bigger picture in terms of where do you typically begin, the hiring process? How you identify the need, for the new team member? What's, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah. No. Oh, yes. Sure. Like it is not a engineering manager or a hiring manager decision to hire someone. It comes back to the company, like the company projects, like which projects we are having, the what is the roadmap for the company. Sometimes, unfortunately, it could be a backfill, but let's not talk about backfills at the moment. Let's talk about the good things. Let's suppose the company is growing, the company has more volume, it has budget. That's where we identify that we need to hire someone, and hiring is a big deal. Because it is a commitment. So we are going to commit to someone that someone will have work for the future. We cannot hire someone to fill a gap of 3 months and then let that person go. Like, we need to make sure that we have enough work for that person that to give value back to the company until, well, as long as possible. So it is not a hiring manager decision, it is a company decision. And by that time that there is a decision on, okay, we need to expand because we have a lot of work that is coming that we need to get things done. Let's start identifying who we need to hire. Like, when I say who, is define the roles, define the positions, define the teams, in which team that newcomer will get. And as the same way that finding the right candidate had a lot of moving parts, finding the right role also have a lot of moving parts. So it comes from the company strategy, and then you will need to, as any developer that will need to code to sort of problem, this is the way that someone like as engineering manager or hiring manager needs to solve a problem.
I feel like there's already a challenge there where you're talking. Then you need to make sure that this person have continuous work as well. So if you have a particular project and you're running around thinking, oh my God, like we need to finish this project, we really need, I don't know, front end developer, but this person comes and in 6 months that project finish, and now you're running around thinking, what's this person gonna do for
Exactly.
the rest
That's
of the
not a good
role?
experience. Yeah, that's not a good experience for that person or anyone within the company. Like imagine other peers that will say, okay, we just onboarded that person and 6 months later we are letting them go. That's not nice, right? So yeah, if we identify that this is the case, I would rather approach a consultancy or have a fixed term contract and where it is transparent. That's the current situation. That's the current need. We only have a temporary need. Let's fill that need for that moment, and then when it's finished, job's done. Everyone is happy because everybody knew what is the commitment from the beginning.
So, and how you identify those sort of, so let's just kind of like, go back. So here's a process, you need your people, more people in your team. There is no backfill or anything. So, you need more people, but it feels like, you need a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit, everyone needs help. How you kind of, decide what sort of role you need to fill?
Yeah, well, before defining which role you're going to put out there to find someone, because when you're putting a role to hire, you're basically saying, these are the skill sets that I need right now for my team. But how would you know which skill sets you need? First, you need to look in and say, which skill sets do I have within my team right now? So I will say, okay, I have X number of backend developers. I have X number of full stack developers. I have X numbers of front end developers. Okay, with that team, what is the work that is coming? Or it is already right balanced, or we have too many backends. Let's start balancing these a bit out and putting more front-end developers, or we have too many front-end developers. Let's balance out on having more back-end developers. It starts looking inside, identifying what are the skill sets that you have. Sometimes you already have people that know a specific thing. Like, for example, you have a lot of good people that work very well on building microservices, but you have that lacking on someone that knows how to do automation or building pipeline CI/CD, like a DevOps, more DevOps approach. That's how you identify which role you want to put out there and hire. And this is where it all starts, like identifying what the current skill set and which skill sets you want to bring in.
I think you also, it's important that you mentioned is actually looking what skill set your team is already have, because sometimes within your own team, some people working on a particular technology, but it doesn't mean that they never work on other technology. And sometimes kind of actually checking with the team if they have those skill sets already within the team. We just maybe don't, never knew about it, never know that someone that worked on this technology before. So I guess that's coming back to that, identifying the actual gaps and checking what sort of strengths your team already has.
Exactly. Like it's always good to give opportunity. Like not only that you're going to hire someone, but is also giving opportunity to people inside to learn. And then when you hire someone from outside, because you identify that you have this gap, that person will bring in knowledge that can be shared with people within your team. So it is a win-win solution.
And so in terms of, how do you, I guess, what do you think, what qualities and skills do you believe like more important than hiring? Because yes, there is those technical skills that's important, and you're looking for the person that can cover those gaps from a technical perspective, but it's also that big cultural fit. Yeah. So how do you decide, like, if you meet some great engineer and maybe they don't have that exact technical skills that you're looking for and identify as a gap? So how are you finding the balance? would you still give it a go and hire this person, or would you still looking for that exact like tech skills? Like, how do you decide?
You mentioned about a good thing here, like, would I go with that person? Also, that's a piece of responsibility as a hiring manager to have, right? So if we're going to hire someone, we need to make sure that that person that is joining the team will be set up for success. Like, if I have a need and then I'll say, okay, this person is very good, I just don't want to lose that person, but they do not have that skill set that I really need, am I setting that person for success, or am I setting that person for failure, right? It will be a good outcome if I hire that person just because I found them very good, but it is just more of the same skill set that I already have. Like, maybe it's better to let that person go, or like put on a watch list, and hopefully we can hire later, but it's better to not hire that person, because otherwise we'll have a double up of the skill set that we already have, even knowing that this person is very good, which will not bring value. So what we have is, when hiring, we need to make sure that whoever is joining will add value, right? If we are doubling the current value that we are not adding value. We are just having more people that does the same thing, and we'll still have that skill set gap that is not being fulfilled. So yes, in short, don't put your emotions. Just keep sure that you're hiring the right candidate, not the right person.
Yeah. So technical. So you would say the technical skills still first, and then the cultural fit.
Well, the cultural fit is important as well, because you don't want to hire what we call what's like, I think that is a term for that, like the genius jerks or something like that. Like, you need to hire someone that will be a good fit within the team, that it will be a good relationship, and also not necessarily that person needs to have the best technical skill set. At least in my view, and also that's one of the reasons why we are currently using engineers on the title, or not. It's not developers anymore. Like, from a pure back, we used to call people like developers as developers. Now we call developers as engineers. At least in my view, there is a bit of a difference between those two titles. Developer, in my view, is someone that can code, can build code, but an engineer is a problem solver. So even if I identify that this person is not the most technically brilliant, this means that that person only do not have enough experience yet. But if they show that they are very good problem solver, that's what matters most for me. They might not know a specific thing, but they whenever I'm interviewing, like, if the person say, okay, I do not know about this, and then I ask, give me a guess. Like, imagine, how would you solve this? What is your intent, or how you think you can solve this? If the thinking, it is aligned with what would be a solution for that, that is a good problem solver. So that person will be, I will prefer that person over someone else that is brilliant technically, but do not have this problem solving skill. Because the problem solving skill is not something that you will learn. It is something that you have. Technical skills, something that you can learn from it.
I guess, you can probably learn problem solving skills, I guess.
It's harder.
But it's much harder than like just
yes.
Go, I guess, yeah, with the technical skills, at least you have a course, you have a structure, and you can, it can be easily taught to someone, where like explaining to someone how to solve the problem, it's a harder process too.
Even for communication is hard, right? So when someone is not a natural problem solver, when you explain the problem and you explain the solution that you already have, sometimes that person will take a bit longer to understand what you mean. So even for communication, and back to what you're saying, the cultural fit, it will be harder to have this cultural interaction. Not this, again, this doesn't mean that this person do not have a job. Like, they will have a job, but it's just a different kind of job, is not aligned with, I think. Right? This is just my approach to that.
And so I guess the hard question would be, how do you check if this problem have this problem solving skills or not? So I don't know, do you have any specific maybe example? How do you structure your hiring process, your interview process, when you're looking for the right candidate? So obviously there's a part of it, with the cultural fit interviews, technical interview, and so on. So I guess through your experience, did you notice the particular structure work the best, or did you notice that some questions work the best when you're trying to identify those skills? Yeah. So how did you start building that interview and hiring process?
Yeah, I guess that is the $1 million question, right? So everybody wants to know what is the best way of hiring someone, identifying that candidate, right? And if you are a candidate and interviewing with many companies, you'll see that each company will have a different way of building their hiring process. The one that I like most and I try to put in place within the companies that I work with is to have a very lightweight coding skill, coding challenge, we call challenge, or coding exercise or something. Just make sure that this person can code, but nothing beats a chat, all right? So anyone can code. And when we are doing the coding, I do not like this approach of, okay, write a Fibonacci solution, or take whatever you learned on uni or hacking course, Hacker Hank course, how to build those tricky algorithms. This doesn't matter nothing, at least. Usually what I put is, here's an app that app has bugs, and that app is really bad written. Go figure out how to solve the problems. That's where I see how the problem-solving skill set of this person flourish. Like, how will they approach that challenge? And if you think this is what we do in our day-to-day, all right? The code that I written yesterday, it is really bad written if I read it today. Yesterday, when I was writing, I say, yeah, that's the best code, it's perfect. But tomorrow, I'll say, yeah, it's not that good. Usually you have the Git blame to blame yourself. Say, who was that person that wrote this code? And then you click a button and say, yes, it was me. This happens a lot. But that's what we do every single day. We see code and we read more code than we write code. So see how the candidate works by reading a code, trying to understand that code that they never had experience with. How will they perform with that? That's where the problem-solving skill comes into play. This is, I will say, what is the coding part? Can this person code?
Is it you give it to them as a take-home sort of challenge, or is it a live interview where you share the code and ask, like, what do you think would be done better?
Already worked with both ways. Some companies prefer to give as a take-home. Some companies prefer to have as a live. It's debatable, like pros and cons. I would prefer to have the live session. I know that sometimes live people say, oh, yeah, it's too demanding for the candidate. Candidate will be nervous of coding with someone looking at the code. But at the same time, as an interviewer, you need to make sure that the candidate feels comfortable. And if they, for example, get stuck, you're there to help to unstuck that person, see how they react to feedback as well. So it's not only that you will see the final result, but from that interaction, you can get a lot from the candidate, how they behave, how they interact with you. Will they, when trying to solve, talk out loud, try to express their ideas, think about things, ask questions. Like this will give you a lot of information for you to evaluate that candidate. So I would prefer to go down that path. I know that sometimes it's not the best solution, not the best option. Some candidates will feel the pressure, but again, it's impossible to have a perfect solution. Like as we mentioned, like sometimes you'll go well on a specific company, you will not go that well on a different company, just because the hiring process is different. So yeah, some decisions that we need to make to try to make the process the best as possible, but we can't make it perfect.
I'm actually curious to hear from people who are listening to us, if any developers on the call at the moment. So do you guys actually prefer take home challenge, or do you prefer just to do some sort of live programming or pair programming exercise and during the interview? So yeah, if you're listening, please put it in the comments.
For it.
Yeah, I'm just curious because we had a few conversations on this topic, and it feels like people not always like that take home sort of challenges, or at least I think you shouldn't give like take home challenges the first step of the interview process before you actually get to know a person and get them excited about the company. Yes, I think like if the company send the take home challenge as a first step, it doesn't make the candidates any excited about working for this company, because like I haven't met any people, I don't know what's going on. Like, do I have to put all this effort doing this coding challenge where that company I'll just book interview straight away and have a chat and
yeah.
So I think so. So the question is, what is your, I guess, view on the stages of the interview, and do you think like as an engineering manager you should interview everyone who's joining your team, or it's okay with just other developers interviewing? Like, so what's your view on that process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the interview process. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but I think that the one that I believe that worked best so far is to have a few steps. So start with the coding, live coding, and again, it comes back to what you're saying. Like this would be I call it as a first interview step, but before that, of course, you have the recruiter that already did a CV assessment. That is the first interview without having an interview. You need to do a CV assessment. That recruiter will usually call the candidate, have a brief chat, understand what is the candidate needs and expectations and etc. And then the first step will be that live code. That live code will be with one engineer. Ideally, that engineer needs to be good on this, setting the expectations with the candidate, making sure that the experience for the candidate is good. Like, for example, sometimes candidate will get stuck, but at least they will get some value out of that that experience. Then after that, you can go to a second step that will be the technical chat. And I called it chat because it's not an interview. It's more what we're doing here. Like, it's a chat. We are talking about experiences. Like, I do not expect any candidate to know everything. Like, depending, of course, on the candidate that I'm looking for, I will be looking for someone that has more experience with, say, security, or more experience with microservices, or more experience with databases, or CI/CD pipelines, automation, or Git workflows, even that. Like, it depends on what skill set I'm willing to cover. And if the candidate do not know about something, well, give me the best of your, give it the best shot. Like, try to come up with a solution for that. If you can think and come up with something that is, it does make sense, it would work, it would solve the problem, that means that you're a good problem solver. You go on the right direction. And I'm pretty sure that if you're going within that direction and you will Google it or ask ChatGPT about it, you will find the right solution, right? Because you already know how to think towards the right solution. That's what really
Yeah.
matters. And then only after this, you do what would be the cultural interview, where you're going to check the behaviors, how this person will interact with others, how they will behave on delivering projects. Like, sometimes some people like to brag that they work extra hours. They are there for the company. I'm not that kind of person that enjoys that. I would prefer someone that say, let's figure out, but do not work out extra hours. It's better doing this than having someone that is burning themselves. This is not setting that person, that candidate, for success if I seek someone that has this mentality. But this would be what I feel so far, that not ideal, but work out the best candidates that I've been hiring.
Yeah, and I guess from the hiring manager sort of perspective, what do you think? What was your, I guess, biggest challenge when you started like hiring people and interviewing people? What do you think was the biggest challenge for you?
Yes, I just remember that I forgot to answer one of your previous questions. Do I need, as a hiring manager, to be involved in the process?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. It depends on your hiring team. Like, if you trust the hiring team and they are capable, not necessarily you need to be involved. But I would say it is good to be involved. Now, back to your question that I just forgot. Can you repeat?
What was the biggest challenge for
Challenge.
you? Yeah. So when you started, moving to these more leading roles, and maybe first time start hiring people, what was your biggest challenge that you experienced?
I guess that my biggest challenge was getting involved on this, because I started getting involved on the hiring process while I was an individual contributor. Yet I wasn't a hiring manager. I was just someone that was passionate about the process. So I started, I don't want to say challenging the process, but asking questions about the current process. Basically because I just went through, and I feel that there was room for improvement. I will not complain that it was bad, because I passed it, right? So I will not say that it was bad, but there was room for improvement. And then I started chasing and annoying people inside the company, say, we can make it better, we can make it better, we can make it better. Until they say, if you think that you can make it better, take the lead on this and start making it better. So that was the first challenge, to allow people to let me help and influentiate. After that, the second challenge was convincing other interviewers that they should take a stab on this, right? Because they were already used to do the hiring process the way that it was. Now I was proposing something different, and they were skeptical about it. So, yeah, they started to give it a go. Of course, my first stint wasn't perfect, and there was things that we were fixing. Unfortunately, we can't have staging environments for that. We need to test live, so we need to test with real candidates. Um, Sorry if I mess up with any candidate that was back then during that phase that we were fixing things, but yeah, we cannot test this on a mock-up because mock-up, yeah, we can say, yeah, I feel that it doesn't work, but it's just a feeling. It's not that reality, right? So we need to keep adjustments, start adjusting slowly, and then trying to find what we think it is an improvement. And so what we thought that was doing well, we keep doing. What we thought that wasn't adding value or wasn't good, we dropped. Also, no passions about the ideas. Everyone is welcome to give ideas, and whatever works is better.
And what do you think was like the biggest improvement then that's been made during that process?
I guess that from that, the candidates that we started hiring were more towards that thinking that I mentioned, like more engineers that can solve problems and not necessarily people that can code those algorithms, that someone that just came out of uni sort out those solutions, right? Usually people with a lot of experience would not know how to solve those things. So I guess that this was a good um, outcome of this. And also that saying good feedback even from candidates that didn't make it. So we start hearing from candidates, like even that if they didn't make it, and during the process, they know that they didn't make it, but they still enjoy the process and return it to us, giving feedback saying, thank you for the opportunity. It was very nice and helped me to understand a few more things and be prepared. And hopefully it was good enough to prepare then for the next challenge.
And I think you mentioned a quite important point here, because when we really need to hire someone, we really concentrate on the finding that person. Sometimes like rushing it through, especially if the project falling behind, and we forget about that candidate experience, and that we can again make sure that the candidates that we didn't hire had a good time, because that's brand builds your employer brand as well. And these people can recommend other people, or maybe these people will reapply later then the position is more suitable. But obviously, if the person had a bad experience during the interview process, there is a really low chance that they decide to reapply later if they see the more suitable role, or there's a lower chance they recommend someone to
Exactly.
apply for the same company, because obviously it's a two-way street. Sometimes it's candidate market, sometimes it's employers markets, and it's constantly swapped. So one time, you have like 20 candidates knocking on your door asking for a job, and you just feel like you can pick and choose. And next year, no one applies for your for your position. So I think it's it's a really good point to remember that as a hiring manager, you want to think about that continuity and that employer brand as well.
Exactly. And then especially if you're working for a company that is not a big tech, let's say like Microsoft, AWS, like Atlassian, well, they already have established brands. Like we're talking about regular companies that needs to hire their technology people, and they do not have big brand. Like they need to cater for this. Like, have you tried to apply for those big ones? Like the hiring process is quite
Intense.
it is intense, and at the same time I do understand why it is, because influx of candidates is massive because everybody wants to join that company. So they need to streamline in a way that you're just another number. So while the difference is small business, we can cater your experience. So we need to foster that.
We have few questions from the audience there. Just keeping an eye. James is asking. I think James, I have a really quick answer to your question. What happens with the contract workers when they parameters of the project change mean contract and then no longer what project requirements? Usually they have to leave if they contract us. That would be the short answer. I think unfortunately that's the nature of the contract work. So
yeah, the contract is that's what I was saying. Like sometimes if it is a temporary thing, you go with contractors because you do not have that bonding with that person. You can dismiss easier. It doesn't mean that it is still a good experience, because if you committed to that contract, at least you should keep the contract to the end. At the same time, mid-project change things. This, I would say, having problem with that person is not your worst problem. Something else is worse in that company. That things is changed. Things are changing in the middle of the project, but that's not the focus of this conversation.
Yes, there's a lot of things to consider. Yeah, why actually the the requirements change? That's definitely the bigger question. And there's another question. I always like the nicknames on the YouTube channel. Tiger Shark. His name is Jason. So Jason, thank you, Jason, for putting your name. Jason's asking, what are the 3 core attributes you look for when hiring a new team member?
It's hard to say because it depends on the role, right? As we talked at the beginning, it depends on which skill sets that you have and which are the ones that you're looking for. But if I'm not considering the skill sets, I will say problem solving and decision making would be the 2 core attributes that I will really check with a candidate. Like problem solving, already explained how it's done, and decision making is another one that is easily accessible when we're doing this live coding. For example, back in a while, I was helping the DevOps team of the company to hire more DevOps people. Like, they are not developers, so how would we hire a DevOps team? We know that DevOps usually needs to do a lot of scripting, so they will need to know how to code. Not necessarily it will be up to a developer engineer or software engineer, but they need to know how to do some code for scripting purposes. So what we came up with back then was, okay, let's put a problem and let the candidate decide how to solve that problem. And this was a perfect example of decision making, because the first thing that I would check is which language or which scripting language that candidate will choose. And you have no idea how many times you have candidates that failed straight away because they choose to use, let's say, Python, or there was one candidate who once chose to use Perl, but they didn't know how to use that tool. They needed to search, Google, find solutions, and simply could not deliver. And they could not deliver simply because they choose the wrong solution or the wrong tooling for the purpose, right? I don't care. Like, you don't need to show up. You don't need to come up with whatever language that you feel that is fancy to show off, right? Just get the job done. And that's what matters, right? Even on the software engineering, we hired one person that she coded in Ruby. Like, the company is a .NET shop. We have .NET for everything, but she solved the problem with Ruby. that means that she's good on making decisions because Ruby was the language that she was most usual to, like most familiar to. So she solved the problem with Ruby. She could show that she knows about .NET, she knows how to code .NET, but she was more confident on doing this solution in Ruby. I
Yeah,
have
so
no idea how.
she focused
Yeah, I
on
have no
solving the problem, not to show that she
exactly,
knows particular language.
exactly. So it was hard for me to follow because I'm not a Ruby developer, but she solved it, showed the things working, and we hired. Like she's still working there, and it was a good hire. Um, Probably not knowing .NET weighted on not being like a senior, more on a junior capacity, but as soon as keep up, like you get promoted because you got experience and then you get a promotion. That what matters. That is a good software engineer because they know how to solve problems and they know how to make decisions.
Yeah, I think we answered Jason's question.
Sorry,
And
not three, but two.
that's free. Two. That's free. So yeah, we're coming back with that problem solving piece, and I'm just also cautious about the time. We already passed the 45 minutes mark of our stream, but I think also the one more thing I want to mention. Where was the? We also want to quickly mention about the distributed teams. Yeah. That could be even more challenging when when you're hiring someone that maybe in a different time zone, or maybe you're not working like on a day-to-day basis. Just I guess what's the biggest challenges there, and what you experience with the hiring for distributed teams?
Yeah, I guess that everyone started having this experience in a certain way when COVID hit. Everybody went remote, and then companies start realizing, okay, my talent pool now is wider than the city where the headquarters is. That's where the remote challenges start happening. Not necessarily you were remote, but everybody was acting as remote because we are all online and etc. This, in a certain way, is good, but in a different way, is not that good because you lose that contact. Like you're not day to day in the office. Like sometimes you never met that person in person. Like it's interesting when you never met that person in person and when you met, say, oh, I didn't know that you were so tall. I didn't know that you people do not. It's interesting that people do not mention about how short someone is, but yes, it happens. Most of the time, people say, "Yeah, I didn't realize you're so tall," but the other way around doesn't happen. But anyways, but yeah, we lose this, right? So we do not have these water cooler chats like bumping on each other. Like if you need to talk to someone, you need to actively go to the chat system that you have, send a message to someone. You will not randomly bump on a chat, right? This doesn't happen. So this is the kind of the challenge that you have when you have distributed, I will not even say fully remote, but distributed teams that do not work within the same space. And at least in my experience, I faced not only that challenge, but a bigger challenge. It is different time zones. Like I worked for a company that was a global company, and we had people all across the globe. So having an overlap was hard, it was tough. So a few learnings from that is build teams or make teams that work together as close as possible with the same time zone. So they have as much overlap, working hours overlap as possible. Otherwise, the communication will be broken. Yes, it is possible to do, but it requires a lot of effort from the team, a lot of maturity from the team. also, since I mentioned, assume asynchronous. Assume that someone on the other side is not available. Send messages. Like, do not send a message saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" and wait for a response before asking the question that you want to ask. Of course, you can be nice, polite, saying, "Hey, how are you doing? I hope this message finds you so well. Here's my question." And do not expect that answer to come straight away. That answer will come eventually. So this it is a communication thing. Also, will enforce you to make sure that you're independent. You are not going to depend of someone to do your job. So you need to be able to unblock yourself. So if I'm hiring, and then I'm getting the third core attribute, Jason. So if you're hiring and it is a distributed team, make sure that you find someone that can unblock themselves. They are independent. They can sort things out by themselves. Is this related to problem solving? I'm not sure, but even someone that is a problem solver sometimes gets stuck and need someone else to help out or get answers, or do not know how to unblock themselves. But I would say that this is very important when you're hiring as a distributed, as a remote team.
Yeah,
and
yeah, I guess it is coming to that problem-solving piece, because if the person will sit there for like half of the night waiting for everyone to wake up because they can't move with the project.
And you also need to make a decision, right? What is the right decision I should make to not get myself blocked? Maybe jump to another solution that I like, put that on hold because I cannot move forward, start working on something else. That comes back to same core attribute, but in a different way. We call different. I don't know, but I do not have an answer for that. But the second part is the bonding between teams. As I said, like, we're not bumping on each other. We are not meeting each other in person. So how can you foster that, like, friendship between teams, collaboration? So usually what I did in the past is creating some meetings, and that's why time zone needs to be closer, where everybody can join, having a chat, play games, and etc. This helps out on this collaboration, get to know each other a bit more. Like, you have no idea how half an hour a week makes a huge difference. I came from teams that barely turn on the video to have stand-ups, to everybody turning on the video to talk together and enjoy, like, telling jokes in the middle of the serious meetings. Like, it is priceless.
Yeah, have this human touch. Yeah, I think obviously talking about the remote working distributed team, it's a topic by itself. But coming back, to your experience as an engineering manager, we're coming back to the problem-solving skills, this decision-making process, working autonomously. But before we finish today's discussion, I actually want to double check. As an engineering manager, do you usually hire only engineers, or do you get involved in hiring for other roles as well? Or it's usually mostly engineers?
Well, define engineers.
I mean, is it mostly, I guess, software engineers, maybe like DevOps engineers, or do you get involved in when they're hiring BA, I don't know, or product person, or UX designer? Like, how it usually works?
As in software engineering manager, or hiring manager, usually you get very involved on software engineers, any kind of software engineer. But we can also get some stint on other roles, but I would say more on that cultural level. Like, if we're going to interview someone from product I don't know even which questions to ask, but on a cultural level, yes, it is possible to get an interview and get something like, will that person interact well with engineers that are very introvert people? Like they sometimes do not express themselves quite well. Like, will they understand technical jargons? And yeah, this is where it can help. I will not say that it will be the best experience, but yes, we can get involved on this as well.
Yeah. But usually, the I guess your focus is those software engineers and finding the best ways to check that problem solving skills and make sure to improve that kind of experience within the
Yeah,
engineering team. Yep.
yeah.
Luiz, I'm just cautious about the time. We literally have 4 minutes to finish our conversation. Thank you so much for all the insights. So what I want to quickly do before we finish, I just want to announce my conversation for next week. And my conversation for next week, it's sort of the next step of what we talk today. We're going to talk with Matt about key strategy for retaining top tech talent. So obviously today we touch on the hiring process and building the team. So once you already hire those people, find that right candidate, how you make sure that those candidates actually stay in your organization and not gonna leave after 3 months probation period because they feel like they're not doing what they were told that they're gonna do, or their expectations didn't coincide with company expectations and so on. So that's what we're going to talk with Matt next week, 1st of November, as usual, 5:30 p.m. And I also want to remind everyone that I have a face-to-face event on 18th of November at 10 a.m. We're going to walk around Albert Park Lake. It's about 5 kilometers walk, so we'll get together early in the morning and gonna do the loop and talk with the people from the industry. So if you are in Melbourne and you haven't seen people for a while, that's your chance to meet a bunch of the techie people on Saturday morning and go for a nice walk around the lake. So that's 18th of November. So make sure to go to my meetup group and register if you're in Melbourne. Luiz, I guess just to finish today's stream, we're going to put you on the spot and ask you to share with us your favorite inspirational quote, or just some sort of statement you live by, something that inspires you.
Well, I'll say that one thing that I always, and then whenever people ask me about, for example, a book to read, I always suggest that book that I read, and that book it's related to design, but I do apply this for everything. And the title of the book is called "Don't Make Me Think." So if I live by that on "Don't Make Me Think" as thinking that I'm solving a problem for a user, and my goal is to not make the user think and make the experience the easiest as possible, like I'm achieving the goal. So whenever I'm trying to solve a problem, I'm trying to solve the problem for the user, so the users do not need to think. I'm making their life easier. So that's usually what I focus. Not design ways, because I'm not a design person, but that's usually what I work for.
I think it definitely can apply to anything in life. We often tend to assume that, the person will guess it, or they can work it out. But make it easy for another person. Make it that this person doesn't even need to think.
Should be obvious,
and it's obvious right there. I like
there's
it.
always
So
that meme saying, "Yeah, the user will know how to do it," and then there is that that cartoon saying that user using messed up with a book. I don't know, something. Yeah, that's always.
Yeah, I think it's a great strategy. Here we go, everyone. If you need to come up with some solution, make sure that the solution don't think anyone who will be on another side. So And obviously, guys, if you enjoy this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up and share it with anyone who need to hear this. Anton saying, awesome insight. Thank you, Luiz and Jana. Thank you, Anton, for staying with us today. And thank you, everyone, for your questions. We'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you, Luiz.
Thank you. See ya.